Hello there. I'm Scotty. You're not, and now we're on phase three. It's actually phase three this time, not me just saying it. Phase three of the MCU. All right. And we have 11 movies to talk about in this one. And this was longer than a tooth from 2016 to 2019. And, 11 movies in 5 years. They were starting to hit them 2, 3 a year. And so, yeah. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe it's like 3 a year. Okay, so I know that Doctor Strange and Civil War came out the same year. And then 17 had Guardians, Thor Ragnarok, and Spider-Man Homecoming. 18 had Black Panther and Avengers Infinity War. And then 2019 had 3 with Captain Marvel, Ant-Man and the Wasp. No, I had 4. Captain Marvel, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Endgame, and Far From Home. Really? 4 that year. Just 4. Anyway, but yes, and maybe these are some of the more, until we get to phase 4, I guess, is the ones that are divisive because everybody's just shitting on all of them, except for a couple. But I feel like there were some divisive choices in this. And I think my number 11 is probably going to be the number 11 of most people. And that is Captain Marvel. Now, keep in mind, I don't hate any of these. I just dislike some more than the other. Captain Marvel is the most recent rewatch of these, of Phase 3, I should say. Just rewatched it with my son and my mom a couple weeks ago. Because my mom wanted to watch it. It was her birthday this time, and we were celebrating her birthday, and she wanted to pick it. So she picked this. It's set in the 90s. It's another prequel. A lot of people complain, oh, it feels like a Phase 1 movie. It is a Phase 1 movie. If you think about it, it takes place in that thing. It takes place in that time frame. After the first Avenger, before Iron Man, this is part of it. Yes, there's a lot of retconning. A big disappointment is the last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye, and it turns out to be a cat or a flurkin, excuse me. Something like that. And yeah, Brie Larson's acting leaves much to be desired, and it's not. People have defended like, oh, was she what? She had less feeling. She was cold. Have you seen her car commercials? That's how she acts. That's not anything special. Those car commercials that she does, same acting range. So I don't know what the next one's going to be. We got 2 other actors in the Marvels for her to go off of. Hopefully she's better. Hopefully they said, hey, Brie, in this next one, can you act? Do something besides monotone. That's one thing. The de-aging on Nick Fury is pretty good. The villains, which end up being the people, the Kree that she's with in this version on the Skrulls. And they're not very confused because, the Skrulls are the good guys. They just want to find their family. They're not bad. But now they're doing Secret Invasion where the Skrulls are the bad guys. I'm like, which is it? Are they good or are they bad? You can't have both. People will defend, oh no, it's just that batch of Skrulls that are good. The rest are bad. I'm like, but that's not what they said in the movie. And I just rewatched it a couple weeks ago. They basically state in the movie that it was a misunderstanding and that the Skrulls are peaceful people while the Kree were the ones causing war. Yeah, no, there's bad ones. There's bad ones. That's not what the movie says. But yeah. Number 10 is going to be Ant-Man and the Wasp. And this is a fun movie. It's a MacGuffin film. But I think the biggest thing with this movie is that this came out right after Infinity War. Right after we get nothing picked up from it. Now, this pretty much takes place about the same time as Infinity War, because then you get the post-credit scene where the snap happens. But in my opinion, this should have been a transitional movie taking place after the snap. And, like, you think it would have been that. I understand it works with the way they did Endgame and what Ant-Man's role in that was, but I didn't see how long Captain Marvel was. 124 minutes, just over 2 hours. And this one is 118 minutes, just under 2 hours. So, yeah, bringing in the Wasp, having her fight. Can I ask a question? Why does Evangeline Lilly have to have different hair in every movie she's in? Like, in the first film, she's got that mop top thing, and here she's got her ponytail. And third one, she's got whatever the hell that is. And then I've seen those commercials where her and Paul Rudd, I'm gonna call him Tom Rudd. Paul Rudd are talking about, hey, you see Ant-Man, and she's standing there in a suit, and her hair looks terrible, whatever that haircut is. Just why do you have to? Why experiment? It doesn't. No. I don't know. She got short hair now, right? Like a short, like not my short, but shorter. Can you have like one hairstyle? They got to change it. I understand that Black Widow changed her hair for the most part, except for Infinity War. It was red, kind of long-ish, right? Until Infinity War when it was blonde, but she was in hiding apparently. But yeah, this is a fun movie. The villains are not really villains. They're kind of meh. But for a movie that comes after Infinity War and before Endgame, it's just kind of there. Captain Marvel is another one of those situations where it's like it came out after Infinity War, and now it's just there, but it's a prequel, so you know you're not going to get anything from it. And then you go into this thing, okay, is there going to be no repercussions? Are they going to mention anything? No, because it takes place during it. So you're kind of disappointed in that, but it works. Number 9, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. A lot of people put this on, probably another one that's on the lowest list, on number 11. It is 136 minutes, over 2 hours. And I think my biggest problem with this is that plot. Where is it? Like, there's a whole thing with Aisha and the whatever they're called, but that gets dropped so that we can go on Ego's planet. And I was sitting there watching this, and I'm like, okay, because I thought that the Aisha and people are the villains. I'm like, okay, what's going on? Why are we standing around the planet talking to Ego? And then this thing's went on. I went, oh, he's the villain. Okay, I guess I didn't get that from the stuff I looked up when I was, when it was coming out, that he was the villain. I just discerned the Sovereign were the villains, because it starts up with that. They're after them. They steal batteries. They're after them. They're saying things out. I thought they were the villains. And then, no, Ego is the big villain here, which is played by Kurt Russell. I think he's good as Ego. He's not a giant planet with a mustache like in the other. I think it was the Silver Surfer series. And Fantastic Four. I believe they did it in Fantastic Four. I gotta get that cartoon. I don't see how much it is on eBay. Maybe I'll get that cartoon. I love that cartoon. Is it on Disney Plus? I don't know. The DVDs would be fun to watch. I used to watch them all. I used to rent from the library and stuff. Yeah, and Yondu's sacrifice. I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. That's the line in the movie, by the way. I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. Welcome to the Guardians of the freaking Galaxy. Only he didn't use freaking. The whole thing. He may have been your father, boy, but he ain't your daddy. I love that. Oh, I forgot my line in the first one. Finger across the throat means death. Yeah, this was fun, but I feel like it just meanders in the middle a little bit. When you're trying to figure out what's going on, it just meanders. You're wondering where's the Sovereign, why they're after him, and then you realize, the first time I watched it, at least, you're like, oh, Ego is the villain. And when you rewatch it, you're just like, yeah, he's the villain. Can we get to him being the villain now? Because you already know he's the villain, so the whole waiting for him to turn thing just doesn't work. All right. This is going to be surprised that it's this low on the list. But there's a plethora of other ones on here. But number 8 is Spider-Man Homecoming. And now this was the first MCU-produced Spider-Man film. I mean, he was in Civil War. But I think Tom Holland is great. He's not the best. I still say Andrew Garfield is the best Spider-Man. I'm sorry. Tobey Maguire fans, I'm sorry. I grew up with Tobey Maguire. But, No Way Home has solidified that he's the best. Okay? This was the first one. He's a teenager now. He's got high school friends. The Vulture is finally a villain. Michael Keaton, fantastic in a role. You have Iron Man joining him. Although, one of the complaints I had when I first watched this was like, why isn't Iron Man helping him in the final battle? Because that's what you see this and you think, okay, they're going to fight together against the Vulture, but he doesn't. He takes the suit and then he fights him in his raggedy suit. Why? That's probably that climax is probably like Iron Man should be helping him. He should have this suit. This should be them going into battle. That's still kind of an thing. I understand they want him to stand on his own legs, but a building thing fell on him. But you got the whole come on, Spider-Man. But yeah, and Tom Holland proved he was Spider-Man, man. Yeah, the high school stuff is pretty good. I like the whole, comedy in this. Ned is one of my favorite side characters. It sucks that they're probably not going to bring either of them back because they're trying to distance him away. I have opinions on that when we get to No Way Home. I have opinions on why they did that. I said that in my review, but I'll say it again when I get to that. But yeah, this is a fun film. All right, number 7. And from here on up, these are all fantastic films, I will say. Spider-Man Homecoming probably in that category too. But I don't have really anything bad to say about these. They're just, I gotta figure out a way to organize these so they're in there. So number 7 is Black Panther, which is a fantastic film. Chadwick Boseman is a great performance. No, we don't do that here, which is Civil War, but still. Or is that Infinity War? No. We don't do that here. I think that's Infinity War. But I think Killmonger is a great villain. There's some sketchy CGI in the finale. It looks like a video game render from the PS3. Yeah, I'm going to go PS2, but the PS3. I think the whole thing with him betraying them is kind of a meh. But there's a great action sequence, and I said this in my review for Black Panther 2, but Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I feel like the fact that it's not an origin story works great for it, and then it just start off with action with Black Panther right away. It continues from where Civil War left off, and it is fantastic. Number 6. Doctor Strange. And this was one that I was actually excited for. A lot of people might not know who Doctor Strange was, but I did. Spider-Man the animated series, hell yeah. The animated film, also good. But this, you cast Sherlock himself in the role. Benedict Cumberbatch in the role. I was a little iffy on casting an African-American Mordo because I grew up with the 90s Mordo. But he was good. I think Mordo is one of those characters that hasn't been fully utilized as a villain. They set him up to be a villain in the second film and then went in a different direction. So you didn't really need, you didn't get that conclusion to that cliffhanger in this. But I like it. The visual stuff. When my son and I first watched it, he goes, I think I'd get dizzy. I'm like, just gonna close your eyes for a minute, okay? He doesn't have seizures or anything. He's fine. But it's a little disoriented. Just kind of adjust your eyes to it. You'll get used to it. But I like the effect. The villain, though, Caecilius, it could have easily just been Mordo. You didn't need Mordo to be an ally because think about this. On the Spider-Man animated series, my son and I just watched that recently, a couple weeks ago. Right, the episode. What was Castellius trying to do? Bring forth Dormammu. Spider-Man animated series. What was Mordo doing? Trying to bring forth Dormammu. So why not cut out the middleman, throw Castellius in the trash can, and make it Mordo? Why make Mordo an ally and then a villain, and then do nothing with him? Basically, he should have just been the villain. It probably would not been as probably would have been the same boringness, but it works. You know, it would have worked better than because who people still who's the villain in Black in Doctor Strange, but I think it's fun. And yes, okay, Tilda Swinton. All right, they said whitewash, and actually she's Gaelic, so she's like Irish or something. But I think she's fine. She works for the role. You know, the other one was an old Chinese man. Unless they were gonna get Ken Jeong in here to shave his head and put on a beard, then I don't want it. Okay, number 5, and I'm losing it. Number 5 is Thor Ragnarok. Oh, hold on. A couple of, I gotta go back here. So Spider-Man Homecoming was 133 minutes. Black Panther was 134 minutes. Doctor Strange was what the hell? I can't find it because they bent the thing. Where would it be? Under the I don't even. Yeah, 134 minutes there. I don't see it. They did a thing where it's like, is it on the 115 minutes? It's on the disc. It's on the disc. 115 minutes. Okay, now back to Thor Ragnarok, which is 130 minutes. This was the first Thor movie where it was sort of like almost everyone loved it. A lot of people said, "Nah, it sucks. It's too much comedy." But I think it works. I think this was the first Thor that really caught my eye. The color palette, the action scenes. Why is it like there's somebody's hand out some window? I live on the second floor. How's this possible? Hold on a minute. I'll leave you recording because I'm just going to see something here. What is that? What is that? I can't tell the sun from my freaking eyes. Now I see spots. It's okay. I'll take over. No, Nicolas Cage. You're not taking over. Nicolas Cage is over there, by the way. He's hanging on the door. Okay. But yeah, I think this is the best Thor movie. Still the best Thor movie, I think. Has a great villain in Hela, which I was iffy about. But, yeah. You know, you got Loki actually becoming sort of an anti-hero in this. So that, you know, he still wants to... I think it's just like the trees or something. He's sort of still a villain in a way, but it works. And you got Jeff Goldblum, Tessa Thompson, Carl Urban, who kind of redeems himself in the end and dies because that's how it is. You got the Hulk coming back after disappearing in Avengers Age of Ultron. He finally comes back. It's supposed to be like a start of an arc for him, I guess, but but yeah, just fun. Taika Waititi, great director. I haven't seen any of the other films, just as MCU ones, but he's great directing this. I think his directing style works great with this, and it is a fantastic film. All right. Number 4, Spider-Man Far From Home. What makes this better is it's a little more serious. You know, it's after the events of Endgame. Spoiler alert: Tony Stark is dead, and this is another one where it's like I told my son, "Don't watch the trailers for Far From Home." Why? Because there's spoilers for Endgame in the trailers, which they really should. But their first trailer was like, "I can't believe he's gone," and they show Iron Man's picture on a wall and he's mourning. I'm like, why would you do that? Not everyone has seen Endgame yet. You know? There are people that can't see it right away. My son can't see it right away. He can't go to a theater and see it. But you put that in the trailer, it's like, no, don't do that. But yeah, they did that. But yeah, I think this is not the best of the Spider-Man MCU movies. We'll get to that later. But it is the better of the first two. It's more grounded. I think, Spider-Man has to step up now. Peter has to step up. Yes, he messes up and he loses those glasses. And yes, it's another villain created by Tony Stark. Quentin Beck, a.k.a. Mysterio. Finally seeing him on the big screen. Good to have him back. Good to finally see him, I should say. Happy he gets more to do. There's the whole thing with him and Aunt May that really doesn't go anywhere beyond this movie. And the whole reveal with Nick Fury and Maria Hill that they were Skrulls the entire time is kind of questionable, but it's a fun flick. It's great action scenes. In fact, when this came out, we still cleaned the movie theater because we still had a movie theater, and they were doing a test screening. They were testing it to see if everything was working. And there's the scene where they're in the harbor and the water comes up. We are sweeping the theater out to clean it, and that comes up, and we're like, "Whoa, Jesus!" Scared the shit out of us. It's great. But yeah. All right, top 3, and these are probably easy ones. Number 3, Avengers Endgame. I think this is almost as good as Infinity War, but a little bit less. It's just a little bit less because I don't know. It's got one of those. Oh, I didn't. Hold on. Spider-Man Far From Home is. Say on a disc. No. $129. That's over 2 hours. And then, Infinity War Endgame is 3 hours long. Plain and simple, 181 minutes is 3 hours long. Right? It's the biggest Marvel movie, like literally the biggest Marvel movie. It's the longest one. A lot of action scenes, a lot of stuff going on. The 5-year time jump. You have all the Avengers eventually coming together. The fact that Ant-Man is saved by a rat opening the machine, the quantum machine, is just baffling, but it works. It's fate, right? The one thing that not really a negative, but I was just kind of conflicted with the first time I saw this was, really? Thanos? Again? Like, the beginning of this movie when Thanos gets killed by Thor, it's like, cool. So who's going to be in the villain? Are they going to resurrect some kind of villain? Is there going to be a multiverse situation? No, it's Thanos from 2014. Thanos again? He was just the villain in the last film. In fact, he was mostly the main character in the last film. Why are we now rehashing a villain? My big problem was, why is he this big bad now? Why people were saying, oh, who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Mephisto, or is it going to be someone else? No, it's him again, which, after all these years and thinking about it, it does work. It does work. But the first time I saw this, I was really like, really? What? Again? But, I am inevitable. And I am Iron Man. Just that. Yes, fantastic. And the first time I watched it took me a minute to realize that he was dying. I was like, what? Oh, that's right, because it hurt Hulk's arm when he did it to bring everyone back. It kills Tony Stark, and that was it. And then the whole, it's still confusing with the ending with Captain America, because then they say he's dead, but he's not dead. He's just old. I don't know. I guess they could say he died so that they don't. I don't know. But this is just, it's great. Number 2 is Infinity War. Avengers Infinity War. And this was bringing all the characters together for the first time, and it does it well. In hindsight, because first of all, I'm like, why aren't they all together? But with all these characters, you have to kind of section them off, and it works. And it's, though, if I do have a big complaint, though, it's that we don't get to see the destruction of Xandar, which was in the original script, but they took it out because they said it was going to be too long. Yeah, this movie is 149 minutes. Too long? You did that one, right? You could, I don't know. But if you watch both of these back to back, which you kind of want to do, but you also miss stuff. If you watch if you go straight from this to this, you can be like, who's Captain Marvel? How did Ant-Man get stuck in this? So you need those other two in between. You know what I mean? Whereas you can kind of watch the first Avenger movie and Avengers of Ultron, put them together, and be like, okay, I mean, you're going to miss like Hydra being back and everything, but it could be easy to do. Yeah, Infinity War was the first ambitious film with an MCU where everyone was coming back and everyone was going to be there as a big fight. And I think they pulled it off. And it's almost the best of Phase 3. But there's just one more one's better. But I feel like they pulled it off, bringing every character. And the ending. When I was in the theater and it ended with Thanos actually snapping his fingers and people dusting the whole... Steve? What? Because when he snaps, something happens first. You're like, oh, it didn't work. It didn't work. And then you have Steve. Like, huh? And then Spider-Man. Instant tears, man. Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good. Mr. Stark. And I'm getting welled up. I'm welling up. And just, whole thing. In fact, the Doctor Strange says it's one thing that has to be done. There's one. He saw all those Earths, all those timelines, and only one where they win, and so he had to give it to him. So, yeah, and yes, let's talk about the marketing. The marketing showed the Hulk in Wakanda. What we got in the movie was the Hulkbuster in Wakanda. Is it really that big of a deal to hide that fact? No. In fact, I think it was worse to show the Hulk in Wakanda instead of the Hulkbuster, because then people who are Hulk fans got pissed. Where's the Hulk? He's supposed to be there. This trailer showed it. And it's like, yeah, like, what happened to the Hulk? Why won't it come up? Why is he a big pussy? That sort of thing. It's just like, and I didn't say this in Endgame, but that people weren't satisfied with what they did to him in there. Professor Hulk, not satisfied at all with that. But number 1. Captain America Civil War. It's another one that was recently rewatched. Like 2 weeks after the Winter Soldier. But this was the first one where it was taking different set of characters and, which side were you on? Was it Iron Man or Captain America? The right choice is Captain America. A lot of people confused about that. They think the Avengers need to be in check, and I understand that. But that's not what the government was going to do with them. A government should never have control of a superpower. Okay? And do you think Tony would have been on the opposite side of the situation He saw this. For all we know, Alfred Woodard's character was sent by Zemo, or like what really happened to her son. But it was Zemo's like, hey, you know what? You should talk to Tony Stark about this. You should air your grievances to him. You should tell him what happened. You give him a piece of your mind, that sort of thing. But I don't know, because the whole thing with them signing the accords and the government having control. That's what it is. The government would have control. The United States government would have control of the Avengers, and that's not right. Because it's not, oh yeah, they can say, go out, save the world. No, it's, nah, we don't need you. We can handle it. And more people are going to die because they're not sending the Avengers out because they don't want to deal with that kind of casualties. They don't want to deal with the mess that they're going to leave because they've left messes in the last 2 times they fought. And when stuff happens. And so they, instead of having that big mess, they're just going to risk their soldiers and other people's casualties to do it. Where it's just going to be worse. Right? They're going to keep them in check. Like, nope, you're not going out. We'll send our men. And that's going to fail after a couple of times. Like, okay, we need the Avengers. But then at this point, like, no, you said you didn't need us. You signed the accord. You have to do it. No. You tried to prove a point, and now we're proving a point. It's just, it's that kind of thing. So I was never on Tony's side. No, signing the accords is not the right thing to do. And I can't believe anyone would think it was the right thing to do. It's enslaving yourself to the U.S. government. No, don't do that. But you bring in Spider-Man for the first time. It was a big thing. Spider-Man's showing up in this movie. It's big. They made a deal. They signed a deal with Sony. Spider-Man's going to be in here. Now, one thing would be if it was one of the Sony Spider-Men, like, say, Andrew Garfield, which would make sense because his movie was very recently in 2014, only 2 years before this, have him come in and finish his story. Nah, we'll just reboot Spider-Man. No, I want more Spider-Man. He's the best Spider-Man. Why do you deny me of this? But you bring in Tom Holland. He's good. I understand they were doing something different, but they could have just, like, if they're going to bring in Hugh Jackman to play Wolverine, why couldn't we get Andrew Garfield? I know what you're saying. Scotty, No Way Home. I know that, but blah. You could have an established Spider-Man, because then you have to redo the origin story again. And well, you don't really get the origin story, and I guess there was never an Uncle Ben in this universe. It's still just, hey, look, Spider-Man thing, but these great action scenes. The airport scene itself is just fantastic. And I've been rattling on about this. This is a fantastic film. Beginning to end, Civil War comes in number 1. There you have my ranking of the Phase 3 films. This was a little bit longer. There's more films to talk about. So, what are your thoughts on Phase 3? What is your ranking of the Phase 3 films? Then we'll comment, so we should like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'm Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.